Have you ever noticed how the thrill of something new, a new job, a new car, a new relationship, it just fades? It's something we all experience, and the science behind why that happens is just fascinating. So today, we're going to unpack that, and more importantly, what the research says we can actually do to make that good feeling last. All right, let's start with a classic puzzle. I mean, we all have that fantasy, right? Win the lottery and bam, all your problems are gone. You're set for life, permanent bliss. But here's the thing. When researchers actually studied lottery winners, what they found was completely counterintuitive. And it reveals something really profound about how our minds work.
Yeah, the research on this it's totally clear. One famous study found that just a few months after hitting the jackpot, lottery winners said they were no happier than people who hadn't won a dime. And this isn't some fluke, it's a fundamental feature of how our brains are wired. So what's really going on here?
Okay, so part of the answer lies in the world around us. We live in this culture that is constantly screaming at us that we need more to be happy. Some people have even given it a name, affluenza.
Just think about that definition for a second. A painful condition of overload, debt, anxiety. It doesn't frame this constant chase for more as just a simple desire, but as a kind of societal sickness. But, this external pressure, that's only half the story. To really get why happiness fades, we need to look at what's happening inside our own head.
And psychologists have a great name for this internal mechanism. They call it the hedonic treadmill, or hedonic adaptation. It is the core reason why that new car smell eventually fades and the big corner office just becomes, well, your office. Basically, our brains are just incredibly good at getting used to things, the good and the bad. And evolutionarily, that's a huge advantage, right? It helps us bounce back from setbacks. But when it comes to the good stuff, it means the thrill is always temporary. The new reality very quickly just becomes our new baseline. So how does this adaptation thing actually work? Well, scientists have literally mapped it out in what they call the hedonic adaptation prevention model, or the H model for short. As you can see from this diagram, it shows two totally distinct pathways that cause our initial happiness boost to just fizzle out. The first path is what they call a bottom-up process. So, think about driving your dream car for the very first time. It is exhilarating, but the 100th time you drive it, it's just commuting. The experience itself starts to produce fewer and less intense positive feelings as it becomes just normal. Now, the second path is more of a top-down, cognitive thing. It's all in your head. Once we get the thing we wanted, our standards just shift. That success becomes the new normal, and our brain immediately starts looking for the next thing. It's like we're on this aspiration treadmill where we have to keep running faster and faster just to stay in the same place, happiness-wise. So why is that aspiration treadmill so darn powerful? To get that, we've got to go one level deeper into the actual neuroscience of our brain's reward system. And it turns out our brain makes this crucial and honestly kind of confusing distinction between liking something and wanting it. It seems like a simple question, right? Of course, pleasure and desire are linked. We want the things that give us pleasure. But from a neuroscience perspective, the answer is a surprising nope. They're actually driven by entirely different systems in the brain. Okay, so here's the basic breakdown. Liking is the actual feeling of pleasure you get right in the moment. The yumminess of a cookie, the warmth of the sun on your skin. Deep in your brain, these little hedonic hotspots light up. Wanting, though, is all about motivation and craving. This is driven by the neurotransmitter dopamine, which acts like a giant spotlight, making a goal seem incredibly important and worth chasing. It's that gotta-have-it feeling. And this is the absolute key. These two systems can get disconnected. The wanting system, which is just fueled by dopamine, can go into total overdrive, making us obsessively chase rewards that don't even bring us much actual pleasure or liking anymore. This is the core mechanism behind things like addiction, and it explains why that constant pursuit of more can feel so empty. Okay, so let's just take a breath. We're fighting a culture of more, a brain that's literally built to adapt, and a reward system that can make us want things we don't even like. I know, it sounds pretty bleak, but here's the hopeful part. The same science that shows us the problem also points directly to the solution. And this is a huge mental shift. If we can't stop the treadmill, maybe we can just slow it way, way down. The goal isn't to pile on more and more positive experiences, but to get more lasting joy out of the ones we already have. So how do we actually do that?
Well, remember those two pathways from the HAP model? Research shows there are two main strategies that directly fight back against them. To fight those rising aspirations, we cultivate appreciation. And to fight those declining emotions, we inject a little variety. Appreciation is all about targeting that rising aspirations pathway. So instead of letting your new reality become the new invisible normal, you consciously savor it. This means fighting that urge to compare yourself to people who have more, and instead just taking a moment to take stock of what is genuinely good in your own life. It's about recognizing that these good things aren't guaranteed, which weirdly makes you value them more right now. And variety? Well, that's the perfect antidote to those declining positive emotions. See, our brains adapt to things that are repeated and predictable, but they don't adapt nearly as fast to things that are surprising and dynamic. So find new ways to enjoy what you already have. Drive your car a different route home. Share a new activity with your partner. The more varied and unexpected an experience is, the more it keeps generating those good feelings. Ultimately, it all boils down to this amazing idea. Hedonic happiness can be conceived as liking without wanting, a state of contentment. The goal isn't to get rid of wanting entirely. We need it to be motivated, but it's about rebalancing our brains. We want to maximize that pure pleasure of liking while taming that restless, insatiable craving. And that balance, it's not about constant excitement. It's about finding a deep and lasting contentment. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. Our entire culture is basically built on the idea that happiness is something you go out and get. But what if that's all backward? What if genuine, lasting well-being comes not from winning the race for more, but from learning how to step off the treadmill altogether?